So let me start by defining competency. A lot of people are still not sure about a competency and a skill. So I have put in a couple of slides on competency. So competency is the capability to apply or use a set of related knowledge, skills and abilities required to successfully perform critical work. A competency model encompasses all the competencies, tasks and skills, behavior, examples and proficiency. So for some of you who are already expert project managers, maybe this is a repetition, but the profile, when I saw the profile of various people on our FDPI group, plus other people who might have joined amongst colleagues and peers, I realized that let's do a very basic this thing on what competency is all about. So competency is a capability to apply or use a set of related skills. Skills, on the other hand, is ability to do something as an expert. Expertise, your expertise is defined as skills. So I will not take much time on this. I will just move this here fast. So a lot of people ask that when we do our sessions on project management, a lot of people ask us this question whether project management is a skill or a competency. So I've tried to define answer that query here, that different roles in project management require different competencies. So one can say that skill is a subset of having a competency, that we will, once we go deeper into this topic today, I will go deeper into this. So since the project management environment is characterized by change, responsibilities and hence required, so we need a lot of course correction during the delivery of the project, let's say 6 months, 8 months, whatever. So we do need a lot of changes during the way, and that's why skill is required. But other skills such as behavioral skills,
slightly louder, Samir.
Okay.
Hold it near, perhaps. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now is it better?
Yeah.
Is it better? Okay. Yeah. So this is so I'm saying that PM is a mixture of many skills, and competencies is what we are going to discuss, and it all comes under competency. So as per IPMA guidelines, so I am part of an organization called IPMA, International Project Management Associates. This is a European body based out of Switzerland, almost 55 years old now, and they have a different perspective on defining competency and defining the various parameters and knowledge areas as we understand in PMI. So I am assuming a lot of you are from software or IT industries, and you are aware of organization called PMI, Project Management International, and they are very famous and very well known certification called PMP. So PMA, of which I am part for the last about 6 years now, defines it in a different manner. So these are the 3 pillars of competency as defined by PMA. I am not going to details of PMA. Perspective, people and practice. So I will go into details of this. Within these perspective, people and practice, is what we are going to discuss today. Our discussion is going to be on these 3 topics. Now this session that I have defined is actually a 30-hour session. This is a 4-day session, which I have tried to condense into a 45-minute session. So you will understand that I will have to move a little faster. So what I've done is I have taken the main topics there, and at the end of the session today, I hope I'll be able to clear some misunderstanding. And of course, I mean, if you have some doubts after that, you can always contact me. So I am going now to the next step of this, where it says that what are the dimensions of project management, which means that I'm going to what does perspective? Perspective is a vision and justification of the project. What the project manager knows about let's say the case study, the business case about project management. People competency is about the behavior when performing the project, what kind of attitude and behavior, and how you react to various situations, and how will your behavior affect the environment of the project. We are going to go deeper into that. Practice competency is the skill that we have, right? So skills that we have in terms of managing people, managing time, managing scope, managing cost, managing procurement, and closing the project. More details on the perspective is include methods, tools, and techniques through which individuals interact with the environment. People will have personal and interpersonal competencies required to successfully participate or lead a project, program, or portfolio. Practices are, like I said, specific tools and methods. If I'm going too fast, you let me know. If you have any questions, you can either put them in the chat box or we can discuss them at the end of the session. Naavi sir, am I fine or should we?
Yeah, you can be louder and slightly slower.
Okay, all
No.
right. All right. I'll put
If
the
you
mic.
speak fast and if the voice is not coming clear, then there is an issue.
Okay, all right. So let me slow it down.
Mm.
So I'm going to the last slide again, saying that if you did not get it, so like I said, there are 3 dimensions or 3 pillars of competencies in any project. These pillars are defined as perspective, which is a method and tool, which is an overall strategy, governance, regulation, business case, vision, and the purpose of the project. People are your personal and interpersonal competencies required to successfully participate or lead a program. Practice are the actual tools that we need to fulfill the project. PM competencies can be measured through skill or knowledge. We have project management exams. And during the delivery of the project, the behavior of the individual and the success or the failure of the project is also one of the measurements that one can define. After this, I come to the learning objective of today. So once I've said the ball rolling context of the session today, this is what I am trying to achieve today. Learning objective of the session is first is within each competence. So I have defined 3 major dimensions or competence. There are several competence elements that I will come to a list in another 2 minutes. Each CE contains the pieces or knowledge of skills required to master that particular CE. So if you are finding this little confusing, the next slide will make it a little clearer. And the KCI, which is the actual measurement of the definitive indicator of the successful project, can be an indicator of either one of the any dimensions or all the dimensions. And definitive measurements techniques exist for each KCI. So I'm trying to go deeper into how do you actually measure the performance of each individual in relation to or in context to each competency and through the competency into the competitive element. Having said that, let me now start with my who am I. Some of you will know me, some of you may not know me. That's my name. I've been around in the information technology business for the last 33 years. I worked with Wipro, NIIT, and Tata Unisys. I'm a BSc Chemistry honors. I'm an MBA. I'm project management certified. And I run tech and business advisory company. We also run programs on learning and development like this project management. So now I come to the 3 competencies that we discussed. There was first was perspective, second was people, third was practice. So we are going to cover each of them. Let me go to this. So perspective has 5 competency elements. I will not go into details of each, but we will go into the KCI of each, the key competency indicator. The idea of the whole exercise is that we should be clear on what is it that we are trying to achieve in terms of strategy, what kind of governance structures and processes we need to keep in place, what kind of power and interest and culture and value games that are played within the organization to make sure the project succeeds or does not succeed. This comes in perspective. We will go into details of each KCI under each competency element. Similarly, people competencies are defined as given on the right column: self-reflection, self-management, personal integrity, communication, relationship, leadership, teamwork, conflict, resourcefulness, negotiation, and result orientation. The third competency is on practice. Practice is, like I said, a definitive tool where you actually define the goals and objective, how to achieve them, how to define scope, time, have a clear scope. I think one of the biggest reasons that project fails are non-clarity in scope or too many changes in scope without uh, uh, defining the relation to time and scope that it happens. Organization and information, of course, quality, finance, resources, procurement, plan and control. Then, of course, risks and opportunities, defining, managing, and expecting, meeting the expectation of stakeholders is, of course, a very, very major portion. With this, we enter the actual session that I have planned for the day, where we discuss each and every perspective along with the competency element. So the 5 points given are the 5 major KCIs, key competency indicator, that one needs to measure under the competency element of strategy. So this is how we are going to do it. We are going to pick up each competence area and define the KCI of each competence element under that competence area. So in strategy, we say align with the organization. It's very, very important that all the hierarchy within the organization is very, very clear on the mission of the project and the vision of the project. If we take an example of how the Indian Army operates, like what happened within the event at the Indo-China border yesterday, uh, the the leader of the group who was leading this brigade at the place of conflict was injured in the first 20 minutes of the battle, and it was the second, third in command who took over. So unless the goal or objective of the exercise is clear to everybody down the hierarchy, in case of any failure at the top because of any reason, people down the lane should be clear on what we are planning to achieve. So I'm saying align each individual with the goal objective. A lot of times I have seen project leaders keeping information to themselves, saying that they are the project leader, they know what to do. The man down the line is not clear on what is to be achieved, and it can result in delay or loss of time in the project. I'm not going to read each of them. All of you are able to read because we don't have so much time. I have a watch next to me. Uh, Identify and explore opportunities we have discussed, determine, assess and review critical success factors. This is very important. Of course, unless we have critical success factor, whether it is a war on a battleground or a ERP implementation or a project implementation on data privacy, unless the critical success factors and the risks are not defined, the project is not going to go into the win mode. The next is perspective. Within the competency element, within perspective is governance, structures, and process. So I'm not going to read all of them because it's going to take a lot of time. Just going to define the overall idea. Governance, structures, and process defines the principle of the project, the business case within the project, what kind of governance and the structures and processes are to be overall defined. So this is, of course, a bird's eye view. At this stage, it's a bird's eye view. This is, of course, also very important. So coming back to the example of a battleground, unless all the risk factor are defined, all the governance factors are defined, we are not going to succeed there also. In terms of compliance standard, every company or every individual or every organization, even any project within the society has some standards and regulations. So we need to look into that also. So for example, the first KCI says, identify and ensure that the project complies with all relevant legislations. Too many times in our country, we announce a highway project where the road land acquisition has not taken place because the land regulation of that particular state were not taken into account. So it all leads into delay in project. If we take it to the subject under discussion in this group on privacy, I feel that a lot of time people are not clear about what privacy means, and they keep on telling you that there's nothing called privacy online. There are hackers who can take away all your data. How does it matter if my main name or Aadhaar number is all over the place. My PAN number is also all over the place. So my point here in terms of standards and regulations and information across the hierarchy is that unless everybody down the lane is clear of the uh, of the of the initiative and the purpose of the initiative, the chances of success of the project can be in doubt. Then the last KCI, very, very important, assess, benchmark, and improve the organization project management competence. A lot of times I've seen that the project manager themselves are not competitive enough. As a result, they take care of project in a very, I would say, non-committal manner. A lot of times I have come across project management people not taking too much interest in the theoretical concepts of project management, saying that we have been managing projects for last 20 years. What is there for us to learn? So my answer to them is very simple, that there is a very big difference between managing a project and coordinating a project. People think that if I am coordinating between 10 vendors and all vendors are delivering on time, then I'm doing a very good project management. But that's what when I say regulations and standards. Power and interest assess the personal ambitions and interest of others. So this is actually part of stakeholder management. And unless you can define and manage and meet expectation of the stakeholders, the various power interest within the organization can act as a bottleneck to the success of the project within the organization only. So we also, for the third point, the personalities and working styles of others, especially during this uh, uh, epidemic time when all of us are sitting at home. Some people have different working styles compared from some individuals. So we have to assess the personality of the person, and we should keep this into mind. The third, of course, culture and values. So every company and every organization and part of society will have a different culture and values. If we are doing multi-level project, multi-country project, we need to take care of cultural issues within the organization. Next is, of course, we come to the next competency, which is the people competency. People competency has 10 elements, out of which the first one is self-reflection, and this was perspective. This is people. First one in people is self-reflection and self-management. A lot of times the people involved in the project themselves are not self-managed. So they are not aware of what time management is all about. They are not aware of how team will work. They are not aware of the individual likes and dislikes of the team members. And they keep on following their own method, which could be again bottleneck in uh, uh, the successful completion of the project. The second point here I want to highlight, that build self-confidence based on personal strength and weakness. I always insist that there should be a SWOT done for each and every member of the project team, so that we know the weaknesses and strength of each member. And if that is done for every member, then the project management can be done in a better manner. Personal integrity and reliability, of course, needless to say, when projects like these, somebody's mic is not on mute. Can you please mute? Yes, thank you. Personal integrity and reliability, of course, is a very, very important factor again. Uh, First one says acknowledge and apply ethical values to all decisions and actions. Take responsibility for own decisions and actions. So sometimes it becomes more of a blame game rather than a project management. It becomes trying to shift the blame to some other person, and that also has to be taken into account. This is competence area. Within competence area of people, competence element, personal integrity and reliability. Third one is, of course, personal communication. This, of course, is the key to any success. A lot of times, if there are delays in one or the other parameter and we are not able to uh, uh, inform all the stakeholders, including the external stakeholders. If there is a villager whose land the government is trying to acquire and he does not want to sell, then there is a particular process defined on how to go about convincing him, saying there's it's a law and you cannot refuse. The government has given you a standard rate, you have to sell. There is no way, there is no use of protesting. Similarly, in case of, let's say, I will bring it to data protection and data privacy, I think there are enough examples here of confusion amongst the people because of lack of personal communication. I still have come across senior people in the industry who are confused between the term malware, spamware, spyware, hacking, uh, 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 terms like these. And this is what I think, as project managers, it is my duty to inform them the difference between all this, so that they understand the value of data, they understand the value of data protection. Point number 2, I like to highlight: facilitate and promote open communication. Third one is, of course, relations and engagement plan. We must, point number 3 again, demonstrate empathy through listening, understanding, and support. This is a very important function that we need to take care of. Show confidence and respect by encouraging others to share their opinions. So relationship and engagement, of course, are part of the communication and the part of interpersonal skills. And we need to take this into account when we are defining the third competency called in competency area of relationship and engagement. The next one is on leadership. Leadership, of course, is showing commitment.
टैली का कोई
Shashank
क्लाउड
sir,
पे उपयोग
Shashank
जैसे
sir, you
टैली
will
के
have to
अंदर वैसा
mute.
नहीं है टैली के साथ में अगर आप क्लाउड लोगे
Shashank sir, yes, thank you. Ownership and commitment, of course, is part of the leadership. Uh, I have seen too many leaders, like I said, shifting the blame to junior people as soon as they see some downfall in the progress of the project. That is not a good uh, leadership trait. Point number 3, I would like to highlight here also: provide direction, coaching, and mentoring to guide and improve the work of individuals. This is, I think, one of the most crucial success factor for the project. Projects are actually handled by people rather than by project management techniques. And if you are not able to provide direction and coaching and mentoring to guide the individuals, the project can get delayed. Teamwork, of course, is no need to highlight this. This, of course, is very, very important. Select and build the team, right team, as per the individual's liking and dislikings, I think, is a key to success. Empower team, I'm on point KCI number 4. Empower teams by delegating tasks and responsibilities. Recognize errors to facilitate learning from mistakes. Also very, very important point. Conflict and crisis, part of any project. There is no project which does not have conflicts and crisis. Again, I'm saying 4 major KCIs: anticipate and possibly prevent conflicts and crisis. Risk management, we are going to come to risk another 5 minutes from now. The risk management says that both known risk and known unknown risk and unknown risk should be taken into account. So this corona pandemic that we are facing is an absolutely unknown risk. And my point is that organizations which were able to determine during the early January, February of the likely risk, seeing the position in other countries, for example, European countries, they would have probably been a better position in June to be able to anticipate and take likely course correction. 4.4 again, identify and share learning from conflicts. Very, very important, so that next crisis we are able to better control the crisis. Resourcefulness is the support and open and creative environment. This is the analytical technique to analyze situations, financial and data and trends. Promote a holistic view of the project. Resourcefulness is a very, very important part of any project. Negotiations, of course, detect and exploit additional selling and acquisition possibilities. identify interest of all parties involved. So negotiations, which I think is considered more of financial negotiations, but it's not that. It should include, especially in metrics organization or projectized organization or hybrid organization, when people are have managers reporting to two line managers, people have individuals project team members reporting to two line managers, then the amount of time they will spend on this project and on their daily routine work should be clearly analyzed. So this should, I think this should be part of the negotiation technique when you are identifying and building a team at stage 1. Point number 4 again, very important to reach a negotiated agreement with other parties that are in line with own objectives. So if it's a vendor where previous payments have not been released by my company, and I am considering that he will do delivery of my project, of my raw material that I require for my project on time, then I'm doing a bad negotiation with him. But at the time of delivery, he is going to come out with this point that you have not paid us for the previous transaction. So these are the part of negotiation one should look at. Result oriented, of course, is very important find. It needs balance and needs to optimize outcomes and success. Once you have risk management in place, and you have this you have a risk register, you know how to mitigate list, what kind of risks to mitigate, what kind of positive risks to get involved, absorb, and what kind of negative risk to either transfer or to mitigate to third parties, or a risk like what we are going through right now, unknown risk, should always be considered. And this all these examples I am giving you, I am taking you from army to road construction to ERP implementation to a project within the privacy or data protection field. I think the parameters are absolutely the same. Whether it's a road project where the villager was not involved, was not aware of why should he sell his land, this is my mother earth, I will never sell it, to a project a stakeholder, a junior stakeholder in a privacy project who has absolutely no idea of what privacy is and why should he fill a consent form or why should he get into these kind of legal issues from their point of view. These are things that should be part of the evaluation process. Now we come to the third competence area. The third competence area is, I feel, the most crucial and down to earth competence area that we need to consider. At the start of the project, like point 1 says, acknowledge, prioritize, and review success criteria. A lot of us at the beginning are not able to define the success criteria. Just by creating a road on a highway road, we have not achieved success. Have we taken all other concerns of external stakeholders into account when we designed that road? Have we made enough by-lanes? Have we made enough side lanes so that people who are in Delhi will realize this? When the Delhi-Gurgaon highway was inaugurated, the amount of traffic on the by-lanes was huge, and it was officially declared by the government that there has been design faults in terms of managing the traffic not going on the highway but going into Gurgaon. There are still major jams. So I am saying the success criteria was not defined. The idea was not to send everybody from Delhi to Jaipur. It was a very good idea for highway for Delhi, from Delhi to Jaipur. But if I am going from Delhi to Gurgaon and I'm going to spend 1.5 hours standing on a by lane to enter, that's not a good success criteria. Project execution architecture. I am sure all of you are aware of this term. This is a very, very important KCI that we should consider. Goals, objectives, and benefits of the project. A lot of people are not clear about the benefits. Goals are clear that we have to achieve this. What benefit we are going to get out of it is something that is not very clear to project teams. And this is part of the competency area practice. Under the competency area element, these 3 KCIs should be considered. Identify and analyze the project stakeholder needs and requirement. Like I say, identification of all internal, external stakeholders is very, very important. Discussing, negotiating their expectations and managing their expectations are very important. Project scope, one of the biggest reasons that project fail, especially in our country, is that the project deliverable scope is not being defined. The work packages had not been defined. It's not been properly broken into activities, WBS, and as a result, the project goes out of shape. Time, of course, time considered to deliver the project, monitor progress against any schedule changes, schedule variance, cost variance should be taken into account. At every stage, there should be, now we are living in the world of agile. Agile should be considered for whatever kind of project we are doing. Organization and influence. Assess and determine the needs of stakeholders relating to information and documentation. Like I said, stakeholder management is very important. Establishing the infrastructure, process, and systems for information overflow, and implementing in the organization and maintaining the rules and regulations of the organizations are very, very important in this competency element. Quality, unfortunately, many times this is kind of put under the carpet. Let's ignore it. Let's deliver the project on time and as per the cost and as per the scope given. Let's ignore this. This is one reason that we keep on struggling with our projects and with our products and our services, and we spend more time trying to rectify the project delivered rather than spending time on verifying the achievements of quality objectives. Quality objectives, of course, is a very huge term, very interesting topic in terms of quantitative and qualitative uh, quality measurements, but that's a topic for some other time. Finance, of course, very, very crucial. Finance at every stage. Like I said, cost variance, which is connected to schedule variance, should be taken into account. And project budget, BAC, the project, the budget at cost and the variance has to be taken into account. Point number 5, I like to highlight here. This is a KCI, just to remind you, monitor project financials in order to identify and correct deviations from project plan. Very, very important factor. Resources, of course, develop strategic resources plan to deliver the project. These resources can be of any type, could be man or material, could be some kind of service, could be some kind of finance that you might need. We must have a contingency fund at all times. Evaluate resources usage and take any necessary corrective actions. Point number 5 KCI is very, very important. Resource usage and take any necessary corrective actions, which is, I think, part and parcel of any project. Procurement is the next competency element, and of course these 4 are the KCIs for the competency element. In procurement, contribution to the evaluation and selection of suppliers and partner, I think, is a very, very important KCI. Once you have this in account, most of the bothering attributes can be taken care of. Plan and control. Plan and control under competency area covers the overall target that we have fixed in terms of planning and managing and controlling the project. So I'm going to read these out because these are, I think, most crucial to the overall management of the project. Start the project and get agreement on the project management plan. A lot of project managers I have seen make their own project, discuss with the team, with the leaders in the team, and do not discuss with all the stakeholders. So this is something very important. Initiate and manage the transition to a new project phase. Each project phase should be defined clearly, milestones as they are referred to. and a control mechanism should be defined for each phase. Third point says control project performance against any project plan and take any necessary remedial actions. Fourth is report on project progress, of course. Fifth, assess, get agreement on, and implement project changes. One of the most crucial factor is this number 5, which is get agreement and implement project changes. Sixth, of course, is close and evaluate a project, and of course, lessons learned, so that next project we do not make the mistakes that were made in this project. Risk and opportunity, again, like I said, there are risk, there are positive risk, there are opportunities within a product. These 5 are also very, very important, crucial factors. So in case, a lot of times I'm mentioning the word crucial, but I feel that 3-4 points are crucial: building a team, negotiation, stakeholder management, risk, opportunity. These 4-5 things, of course, time, scope, cost are crucial. But in terms of, if you go deeper into project management, if we take these 5 in terms of identifying risk, developing a risk mitigation or transfer plan. Transfer would mean that you see a risk coming, or you see a risk will come 3 months down the line. We know we are doing a project, but in July monsoons will come to India, and during monsoon I cannot do my road construction work. So I should plan that July my work will come to a standstill. That's a risk I know. Like I mentioned, known, unknown, and unknown risk. There are some risks which can be transferred. Example of that is uh, a risk like an accident, or somebody getting unwell on the project, some crucial member getting unwell on the project. So we can transfer that to insurance. So we can transfer the risk by involving insurance companies to take care of these known risks. So we know these kind of mishaps will happen. So these are some techniques that one uses. Identify risk and opportunities. Third is assess the probability and impact of risk and opportunities. Each risk has a probability, and that probability, the probability of that risk happening, and the mitigation technique. If you are able to, this risk could be availability of finance. You were expecting X amount of money to be released to the project 3 months from now, and that money has not been released because of some other issue in the company. What kind of risk mitigation technique will I employ then? If my promised finance by the promised finance from the finance department has not been released in spite of it being agreed. So these are the risks that we need to take care. Fourth one says is what I mentioned: select strategies and implement response plans to address risks and opportunities. Very important. Uh, like I said, that if you have risk mitigation plans, I give the example of transfer of risk to insurance. That's a very good idea. Evaluate and monitor risk, opportunities, and implemented responses. Of course, stakeholder management. I've been harping on this for the last half an hour, that if you are able to define each and every, even the smallest stakeholder, like I gave an example of, not many people are aware of the meaning of data, the importance of data. A lot of people ask me, so what? My ERP data gets lost or gets breached. How does it matter to me? So when I tell them that your ERP data has invoices that you are billing to your customers, it has rates. Your ERP data has your purchase invoices, that you are at what rate you are buying equipment. Now tell me, is it important? Then they understand the meaning of data. So this is a very crude example I have given, but it has happened with us. People are not aware of what data loss means, data breach means. Today only there was a ET CISO meet where I was taking part, and it was being discussed that in privacy, how does a loss of privacy affect the organization rather than the individual? and most of them were aware, were of the view, these are CISOs, these are leading CISOs, most of them were view that no, it doesn't affect the organization, it just affects the individuals only. Again, my point is that the education, I will use the word education to stakeholders, is a very, very important point. Engagement is already clear there. Organization and maintain the stakeholders balance. Change and transformation, of course, is like I said initially, that the difference between competency and skill is that competency allows you, if you have a skill and you change that skill to suit that, or you upgrade yourself, you unlearn and relearn yourself. That's all change and transformation is all about. Uh, Identify change requirements and transformation opportunities, develop change or transformation strategy are the most important factors here. Select and balance is the last competency element. This, of course, part of program management.